Hello again, everybody. This is Vontos back with episode 2. This is the second part of the first session that Bob and I played in this game. We are taking on 6 Emperor AIs on a land map with very strong defenders on the structures. In the first episode, not a whole lot was going on. We were taking our time and being careful not to lose any of our fragile starting armies to the very strong defenders. But things should start to pick up a little bit in this episode. Again, I'm not going to be commenting the entire way through the video, just turning it on and saying something whenever something important needs to be talked about. Again, I'm rushing toward Imperial Residence. The only building that I could afford that is on that path was the shrine. I don't need mana at all at this point, but I do need the building in order to get Imperial Residence as quickly as possible. Here's Bob taking on another tough early game battle with 3 shock troopers on the battlefield. His army is a little stronger than mine with the Griffin Rider and with the cadavers, but even if I had those, I'm not sure I would have been this brave. I was able to neutralize the shock troopers in this battle pretty well by using the stiffen limbs spell and by getting the cadavers in the way of the one that he wasn't able to stiffen. And there he goes, stiffening the Black Knight too. Necromancers are really good at slowing down fast units this way. He did something similar with one of the Frostling Mammoths that he fought against in a battle that otherwise he probably would have lost a unit. I had to backtrack a little bit to go after these scoundrels, but they were getting dangerously close to my throne city. The bandit camp that they came from, we don't discover it for a while. It actually spawns another group of scoundrels and an assassin. I don't remember if it's in this episode or the next one, but I have to take a few steps to keep them from taking my throne city eventually. It's nice that the armies you have to fight for city quests aren't more difficult on very strong defenders. Makes these the easiest battles we fight in this game. One problem with using stiffen limbs on all the fast enemy units is if they have a unit with break control like that orc priest there, they can just dispel the stiffen limbs. And they can keep using break control over and over throughout the battle. You only have a limited number of casting points to keep casting it. So if anyone's ever trying to use that against you, that's one way you can beat it. I was left with exactly 100 gold, which is great because the cheapest building I could build at this point cost 100 gold. Again, it's going to be a mana generating building, but whatever. I'm not going to say no to the extra mana, end up giving most of it to Bob anyway. And since I didn't have the gold to spare to defend that Orc City, and I needed to use my units to clear out the very strong defenders at all the structures, I'm going to end up losing that Orc City to a bunch of ghosts. I'm able to get it back pretty quickly, though, I think. Not going to have any units to defend it for quite a while, actually. Just kind of sits out there until I'm able to clear out all the structures around it. I think there's another bandit camp and a couple necromantic circles near it. One thing I considered was, well, I'm looking up a cherub stats now, because I was considering summoning a cherub in that in that city to see if one cherub could beat 3 lost souls. I ended up not trying it. I thought a cherub probably could do it because of the spirit damage that a cherub does, plus it has more health than a lost soul. I think cherubs have complete immunity to spirit damage, which neutralizes some of the lost souls attacks. The reason I decided not to try it was because of the lost souls, their undying ability, or whatever it's called in their case. I didn't think I could beat all 3 of the lost souls within within 2 turns of killing off the first one. So I thought the first one would be able to come back and I'd end up fighting against 4 lost souls, and I thought that'd be too much for one cherub to handle. Fighting against more scary apprentices and scary wisps here, so I want to make sure I get my 6 best units into the fight. I could have gotten more in by going over the mountain tile, but I thought this battle would be easy enough with just 6. I didn't want to slow my entire army down. My army has gotten stronger since I lost that halberdier to an apprentice early on, so I wasn't too worried about this. Definitely should have used Death Ray on a Wisp the first time I fought against them. I'm not sure why I didn't even consider it, actually. I'm trying to remember if I cast a different spell or something. I think I probably just used my Necromancer's ranged weapon without stopping to think that maybe he had a spell that would be more effective there. Trying to guess what they're going to do here. My thought was the Wisp might teleport to behind that cavalry that's standing next to the apprentice, turn him around, which would let the apprentice get away and fire off 3 shots. That would have probably been the worst case scenario for this battle. I don't think the Wisp could have made it there anyway. I think he is just 1 tile too far away. I decided to pick Order of Healing, or whatever it's called, to research there. even though researching one of the strategic spells would have made one of the spells that I want come up faster. And man, always forget the name of the spell that increases population that Theocrats get. Beacon of Faith. You might have made Beacon of Faith come up earlier, or Paid Absolution, or Sanctified Sights. The reason I didn't research a strategic spell was because we are fighting more difficult enemies. I thought that the extra healing from my priest would benefit me more than just rolling the dice and gambling that one of the things I would want to come up would actually come up. And I think I made the right choice. I have a couple tough battles coming up, and having that extra healing does help me out quite a bit. Found a nice spot for Bob to build a city back there by my cherub, which you can get a better look at when I go back to move him again. There was a spot with a vault of knowledge and a crystal tree, both of which would benefit Bob's longbows. Longbows, one of the few tier 1 units that are still useful late in the game, especially when you get some of the high elf governance upgrades for them. If you can get the extra damage and extra protection that the crystal tree and vault of knowledge give, they're basically a good tier 2 unit at that point that you can build for the cost of a tier 1. There you can see that crystal tree and vault of knowledge off to the left. I'm flying away from it. I wish I'd taken this Archdruid. I end up coming up against a lot of snakes later on. But I decided to save my money and keep building stuff in my throne city. The reason I clicked I want another hero instead of just waiting on him was to try to make that process last a little longer. I could have done that better too. I could have waited on him a couple times and then said I wanted a different type of hero and waited a couple times and then done that again. Those Archons were from somebody's quest that they never did, but I'll take the easy experience. there's only 3 Manticore Riders. I could take them. It's actually one of the easier dungeons that I've looked in, with very strong defenders. So hopefully I will be able to get that cleared early enough in the game that I can start making good infantry units in that city. I decided not to build the Great Temple first this time, even though I had enough gold for it and not any of the other buildings. Is because I started to look at how many turns it would take to reach Metropolis level and what turn the game was already at. And I realized if I didn't speed up the city growth, I might not get Eternal City before any of the AIs did. So I built housing a couple times to grow faster and then went with the hospital, mostly for the population growth, but also for the city happiness bonus as well. finally going to go with Scales of Fortune, researching a strategic spell, hoping that it brings up one of the Theocrat spells that I need more quickly. Also, I'm not that far away from starting to build units, and I do want Scales of Fortune cast on my cities before I start to build units in them. I canceled one of my build housing and went with the hospital right away. I picked up some gold since I set that previous build order, and I can afford to build a hospital now. I'm just going to fly away from these ghosts, but again I thought about what would happen if one cherub tried to fight against 3 lost souls. Still thinking that I might have a chance against them. But I do decide to play it safe. I was trying to keep this cherub floating around independent cities so that Bob could cast Undead Plague on them. So I didn't want to risk it just to try to find out if I'd be able to win this fight. Looks like the cherub does not have complete spirit immunity. But I'd be doing a lot more damage to them than they would be doing to me, and I have 10 more hit points. But there I go, finally running away. And there you might have seen, I'm not sure if I've noticed them yet, but there are bandits right on the edge of my Throne City's domain. See them sitting on the bridge there. This is the last turn we play in this session, so I had to spend a couple days worrying about what was going to happen with those guys. Not sure I've noticed it yet. But I've got a few options. I have enough gold that I could have built a unit in that city, or I could have gotten some gold from Bob and just bought that hero. Used the hero, summon a cherub, and hopefully those two would be enough to at least keep the bandits from trying to take the city. I also have 1 or 2 of my faster units in my army. They're pretty far away, but there's a haste berries in between them and the city. So they would be able to hit it and get into the city just in time to keep the bandits out. Fortunately, the bandits are actually 2 turns away. They would not be able to get into the city on the next turn. So that does give me a few options on what I can do to defend the city. But that's something that's going to have to wait till the next video. There's still a few seconds left in this one, but it looks like we're just waiting for the other players to finish their turns so we can save it. Thank you for joining me and sticking with me through these first couple videos without the working audio. Next video is going to be more of the same. That session isn't as long. I think it's under 2 hours. I'm leaning towards trying to get that all in as one video instead of breaking it into 2 parts. That way we can just get past all of this and move on to videos with working audio. I guess I'm going to look at that video and then decide what I want to do. If there's a lot going on in it and a lot that I want to talk about, then I will still break it up into 2 pieces. But either way, that should be up by Sunday night or Monday morning. There's not a whole lot I have to do with that. Thanks again for watching me, and I'll see you again in a couple days.